Good afternoon and welcome to Mike and the Hoss on Wolfeboro Community Television. I'm Mike Danais.
And I'm Charlie Hossack.
Let's thank our sponsors, Charlie. So starting with Downtown Grill and Cafe.
Skelly's Market.
And Morrissey's Porch and Pub.
Yes, thank you to our sponsors.
Yes. And if anybody else would like to join, we would more than welcome to take them in, right?
Absolutely. They just need to reach out to Timothy Goodwin, our producer, and he'd be more than happy to put you on the team, the Mike and the Hoss team.
Yeah. So, Charlie, good seeing you. How is everything holding up in the Hossack household?
Things are holding up, but before we get into that, happy birthday to you, Mr. Danais.
Thank you.
How's your birthday? It's a quarantine birthday for you.
It is. Not a big party happening, that's for sure.
No. And you know that you share a special birthday with someone in my life.
Happy birthday to Jonathan Hossack, too.
That's right. That's right. So you guys are birthday brothers. That's great.
Right.
Yeah.
There's nobody I would rather be a birthday brother to than your son, Jonathan.
That's great. But we're holding up. I mean, I think you have good days, you have bad days, and I think today for me is a pretty good day. I mean, yesterday was tough, but we're doing our thing. We're teaching, and the kids are doing the school thing, and just hoping that we're hoping to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So we'll see what the professionals have to say about that.
Yeah, it feels like Groundhog Day. It just every day is just the same thing again and again. And with school, I mean, not that we share a ton about school, but it's a very repetitive procedure, and I appreciating the students. They're doing everything they can to stay engaged.
Yep.
It's certainly a challenge for them. Right now, my biggest enemy and my biggest friend right now is Netflix, because there's so much good stuff on Netflix that I want to go watch it, but so do the students, and so they're not doing the schoolwork sometimes because they're on Netflix.
Right.
But it is it's a unique time, and just hopefully everybody's staying safe, and I'm with you, Charlie. Hopefully there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, definitely. Now, are you watching a particular series that you want to share with us, or finished one?
So, we are at the end of Devs, which is a Hulu one. That's an FX Hulu one.
Okay.
Kind of a futuristic science fiction. We are in Homeland, which is near the end of that season also, which is also on Showtime. And then we started Ozark last night.
Okay.
Which is on Netflix. And my daughter's boyfriend is the one who got me hooked onto Ozark. So.
Oh, good.
We watched the first couple episodes last night, and that's pretty good. How about yourself?
So my daughter Abby got me hooked onto All American.
Yeah.
Which is yeah, I'm enjoying that. And then I'm kind of an addict. I like to watch. I don't know if you ever watched the old Restaurant Impossible with Chef Irvine. So I go through this. He's got 17 seasons, and I think I've only got like 2 left to watch. I just love it. So.
Well, and I one more that I'm near the end is Designated Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to, that's Kiefer Sutherland, and that goes back to my days when I was into 24. You were a 24 guy. Strongly suggest 24 for anybody, but when he started Designated Survivor, I just kind of hooked into that, and then I got away from it. But now that time on my hands, I got back into it. So I'm enjoying that part. But it is like I said, it's unique times. And,
it is.
We're Mike and the Hoss are trying to make the best of it.
We are.
Our 4th social distancing episode.
I know.
When we did the first one, we were wondering if there was going to be a second one.
Yeah, and here we are with our 4th show.
And now I'm wondering when we're going to get back in the studio.
I know. I don't know. We'll see.
So today we have a pretty good one today. We're reaching out a little bit beyond sports today.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about sports and the impact of the state and where pro sports are and stuff like that. But we have a guest today that has a really, really cool story. We had been trying for a long time to get former athletes from Kingswood on. We've been working that through and figuring out how that was going to happen. And a former athlete, Bijou Bell, who is in her senior year at Curry College, played lacrosse and field hockey at Kingswood. Obviously, did very well, and then moved on to Curry College to play lacrosse. Well, Abby's also a nursing major, and when her season was cut short, and we'll talk about her highlights of her season. It was only 3 games this year. As a nursing major and the need for nurses, she was pulled into, I believe she's at Beth Israel down in Boston, in the COVID ward.
Wow.
And so she went from the lacrosse field right into
the hospital.
Pretty high intense hospital work that she's been doing with her nursing major. So I bumped into her mother last week, actually, and I didn't know that this was happening with Abby. And her mom showed me a picture, and many of us know Faye. Showed me a picture of Abby in her protective gear. And so I reached out to you and says, this might be a really good angle for our show. Right. And I think people would be really interested in hearing Abby's story, going from star athlete at Kingswood to star athlete at Curry College to, saving lives at, I think it's Beth Israel, but we'll double check that when she comes in. So I'm really, really interested in just asking her questions about what's going on in the medical field right now. And we don't get to see that, obviously, and it'll be really interesting. So that's coming up at around 3:15.
Excuse me. That sounds good. Yeah.
But we are a sports show, so let's talk a little bit about sports. NHIA. Oh, no, sorry, Athlete of the Week. Yes. We're going to start announcing Athlete of the Week, even though we're not in season. Well, technically we're in season, but we're not in season.
Right.
So Mr. House is still taking nominations, and I guess we would call these people workout warriors.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And so for the boys, Nick Potenza, who is a lacrosse player, and we know Nick is a hockey player.
Yep.
And Liz Morrison, who I believe is track and field.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
And I'm pretty sure they're actually cousins.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So that's word on the street. I hope my sources are correct.
Well, congratulations to Nick and Liz, and we'll do the same thing next week to whoever gets nominated next week.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And I know just kind of just a follow up. I know that the esports season has started, so that we had Mr. House on last week, and I know that that's underway. I think some of the first games actually happened yesterday. So I don't have a whole lot of information, but I do know that there are kids from the middle school and high school that have signed up, and they're already participating. We
had a giant team meeting last Friday, and we spoke about it. I had about 70 kids there remotely, not together, remotely. And so we did speak about it, and there was some definitely interest for some kids, whether they followed through or did it.
Yeah.
Video games is a big part of kids' lives right now, and there's a lot of stuff coming out about screen time that it's not time to be on your kids' cases about screen time, because it's keeping everybody standing together right now. So
right,
maybe this esports niche is going to be the fill a void for some of them. NHIA, I have not heard anything. Have you?
I haven't heard anything since last week's update.
Okay.
The only thing, I think we mentioned it last week, or maybe we didn't, but Maine has canceled their spring sports season.
Yeah.
So, I know that the state of New Hampshire and Governor Sununu should be coming out this week, Friday, to make some recommendations. So.
Yeah, and I think he kind of gave a preview of it. He did some interview earlier this week, and I don't think it's going to be good news for those that want to get back to school.
Right.
Now, the sports, we had said last week that the executive director of NHIA mentioned that there was a possibility that even if school is being done remotely, that he could get together, we could still do at some sort of a spring sports season.
Right.
I'm on Twitter quite a bit, and I haven't seen any follow up on that. So
I haven't either.
I don't know if where he's at with that. Pro sports, there was a lot of movement in the last 24 hours with pro sports. Dr. Fauci, and you know who I'm talking about with Dr. Fauci, right?
Of course, yeah.
Everybody knows Dr. Fauci. Last night said that he sees a path towards sports happening.
Yeah.
This summer, this fall, seeing an abbreviated Major League Baseball season. What he is saying, though, he does not see fans being in the stands. And how we see sports happening is that basically teams would be quarantined themselves, and with constant testing every other day, testing every week.
Right.
And they would be living in hotels. And there's a lot of traction about the Arizona plan for all of Major League Baseball to be playing baseball in Arizona, limit the traveling and so on. And you know that the government has put together a task force about looking at opening sports again. And, you know, Robert Kraft is on there, Roger Goodell, Manfred, the NBA commissioner, the NHL commissioner, Mark Cuban. I thought it was an interesting name to be on there because he has not in the past been a friend of the president.
No, but you know, he is an owner, so
he is an owner, and he is very much for getting sports going. He believes that it's a big part of the economy, getting the rest of the economy going again. Yep. So I think those are interesting developments, you know, in the sports world that hopefully we said last week, wouldn't it be nice if we had a Red Sox game going on at 7:00 tonight?
It sure would. Yeah. I mean, it just for mental health reasons, it would be awesome. Did I hear too, that I see something come out that WWE is essential? Is that essential? Did they say that? WrestleMania.
I know for some it is.
I know it is. It is.
They have been doing their thing remotely. You know, they've been putting, you know, 3 or 4 wrestlers into a room and letting them fight it out, and then
I know,
analyzing it.
Hey, and people like it.
Yeah, bashing each other over the head with chairs and whatever else they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, you know, if that can happen, then I guess why can't we don't know. We don't know when this is going to end, and we, you know, had said earlier, we want there to be light at the end of the tunnel, but you know, if you look at the news in a 24-hour span, you're going to hear, you know, that life is going to get going in May.
Yeah.
Life is going to get going 2 years from now in May.
Right. Right.
And it's really all over the place, and so it's hard to put your finger on exactly what's going to happen, or to not have your expectations dashed.
Right. Yeah, you just don't know. So we just got to let it play out. You know, one thing I have to do, Mike, I'm going to turn my light on because I know that Timothy's going to be upset that he's going to perceive me as sitting in the dark. So hang on one second. I'm still working, guys. I'm just moving. All right. I don't know if that's going to help any, but maybe next week I'll have to get a different location.
Oh, that's good.
It's kind of funny listening to your location, Mike. When the wind howls, it sounds like you're in a hurricane.
Well, we did cover that in our sound check earlier with Timothy, and I wanted just a different change of scenery. I haven't been doing classes here, but quite honestly, it's really cold out right now.
I was going to say, I know exactly where you're sitting, and you look frozen.
I'm just, it's colder than I thought it was. It was a great idea at the time, but it's a little colder than I thought it was.
You're going to have to get up and do some jumping jacks.
There's a chance I might end up back in my original spot, but we'll see if I can hold it together. We got about 4 minutes before Abby joins. I want to thank you, and a shout out to your wife, making the masks for the community. It is, I use it when I go down to the store. I was at the hardware store today, actually, and I use my mask. And for those that don't know, Ms. Hossack made me a Patriots mask, which I appreciated. So I feel like I'm representing anyway when I go in.
Definitely, yeah. And I appreciate the thank you. No thanks to me at all, but it's all Michelle. I mean, she coordinates with the Wolfeboro mask makers, and she purchased the material. I don't know if you heard, I think you knew this, but 2 of her sewing machines actually died, and she was able to get a new sewing machine. So she's kind of back at it, and it's pretty awesome.
How many masks has she done so far?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. Michelle, are you still out there?
No, but she's done over I feel like 200.
Yeah. Abby was saying she thinks probably over 200 or so.
Good for her.
Quite a few. Yeah.
Well, thank you. On behalf of everybody in the community, I want to thank her for that. While we have a couple minutes before Abby gets on, I was thinking about next week's show, and something that we have not talked about much with athletes is dance.
Right.
And my daughter's actually, kind of brought it to my attention about, she dances in college. Well, she was in college. She, lost her spring season on that. And that, maybe we could have her and also Miss Chrissy over at Expressions Dance Studio, who has a connection with the high school because she's also the spirit coach.
Right.
High school. So we're going to reach out to Miss Chrissy and see if she'd be interested interested in coming in, talk about Spirit Week, not Spirit Weeks, Spirit Team,
Yeah.
the competitions they do, and possibly have my daughter talk about dance in college too.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, as we're looking for things to fill in. Later on in the show, as soon as Abby comes in, we're going to talk about the Brady-less Patriots, and that's the only time we're going to say that name.
The Brady-less Patriots. Hey, what do you think about, speaking of not just Tom Brady, but did you see what the athletes and celebrities and stuff are doing to kind of raise money for, I want to say it's for hunger. I might be mistaken about that, but they're doing things where you can buy like a $10 ticket for an opportunity to win a fantastic opportunity to do something with your favorite athlete or entertainer. Like I saw it this morning on GMA, like Michael Strahan was offering, like, spend the day with him and he'll take you out in one of his cars and have lunch and, do that type of stuff. It's pretty cool. Tom Brady also put up an offer to, let you be at his first game in Tampa Bay and, sit in a suite and all that nice stuff. So a lot of people doing good things.
Okay, that's cool. I have not seen that, so I'm gonna take a peek at that. The only thing I've seen from the celebrities are the horse contest. You see the remote
the basketball, like Paul Pierce and yeah, that's fun.
And Paul Pierce got skunked. He went out right. He 1, 2, 3. So, but that was. I
like Paul Pierce's court though. Did you see that? Celtics emblem on it. That was nice.
All of them are really nice.
Yeah. I know, but I mean, you think of Paul Pierce. I only think Paul Pierce is a Celtic. I know that he played for other team, but yeah.
I'm just. I had sent Abby another code, and so.
Okay.
I just want to text her and make sure she got that.
Gotcha.
Oh, all right. I'm back. Hopefully she sees that. We'll give her a minute or two, and we've been very successful as far as remotely, getting people in.
Yeah.
They've been popping on time, so oh, there she is.
Right on.
Abby, you with us?
There she is.
There you are.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, Abby.
All right, so everybody, this is Abby Bell, and she is a former Kingswood athlete, now a former Curry College athlete, and currently a nurse at Beth Israel. Abby, is that right?
Brigham and Women's. Faulkner.
Brigham and Women's. Sorry.
Yes.
Brigham and Women's. Sorry.
That's
So,
okay.
Abby, I don't know if you know Mr. Hossack. He's the second part of the show. So
Great.
Abby.
Hi.
I only got second part, Mike. I'm the second part. That's it.
Yeah, that was kind of tough. That was a tough intro. I don't know if I would introduce someone like that, but that's okay.
Abby, Mike thinks this is his show, Abby, just so you know. So.
Oh, I know. He told me that actually when he invited me. He said it was his show.
yeah,
The Mike show.
All
right.
That's great. All right. So, Abby, I was telling Charlie earlier about how the whole idea of having you come on the show was I bumped into your mom at the hardware store the other day, and she showed me the picture of you and your protective gear.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the whole thing started. And this really worked out well. I'm glad you were able to join us. So I want to start with, we gave everybody a little bit of a preview of your history. Let's talk about high school to start with, your Kingswood years, things that you did, accomplishments, and so on.
So I played both field hockey and lacrosse, and I would honestly say that field hockey was my sport. I always thought that I would go to college for field hockey and pursue it. I don't know if it was because like the team bond we had, everything like that, amazing coaches through and through. And then when I went to decide where I was going to school, I originally was looking at UNE. And they have a field hockey program there and everything too. And I was like, you know what, that would be like great or whatever, but I didn't really like their nursing program. So that's how I ended up at Curry. And so that's when I decided, if I can't play field hockey, then I'll play lacrosse. So I contacted their coach and everything. They had me do a recruiting video, all that stuff like that. And then I became a Curry College women's lacrosse player.
That's awesome.
But Yeah, it was an easy transition. I was expecting it to be honestly like more difficult, like getting to like know the coaches and the new team and everything like that. Because at Kingswood, we were so close, both field hockey and lacrosse. Most of the team was the same for both teams. We had the same people on basically. A lot of the players who played field hockey played lacrosse. So it was a good group of girls that we had. To keep it together. So I was nervous. I will say I was nervous going in, but it was an easy transition.
Well, you're doing a great job about not bragging. So now at Curry College, you scored your 100th goal this time.
Yeah, and I was actually pretty surprised by that because, I mean, I knew I was kind of up there, but I didn't know that I was getting to 100 until it happened. They announced it on the loudspeaker, and I didn't even hear it because after every goal, they say who scores it, who assisted it, like that. And then they added that it was my 100th, and I didn't even pay attention to it. And then my teammate came up to me and was like, "It's your 100th." I was like, "No, it's not." So it was very exciting, and I'm glad. Seems though we only had another one game after that. I'm glad I at least got to it with our season being cut short due to COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that brings me to the next question. Can you talk about how those last, few games happened for you and how things got canceled and how you were told about it and, the end of the season?
So going into my senior year, I was getting ready. I was running every day, going to the weight room. We had practices at 5 a.m. Like we were going to have like a really good year, and I was wicked psyched about it. So we had a couple games at home. Then we actually went to our spring training in Hilton Head, South Carolina. So we were actually in Hilton Head. We had just finished a game. We went back to the hotel, and we were just like hanging out or whatever, making dinner. And then coach called us all for a meeting. And then she told us that we were going to be delayed 2 weeks. We weren't going to be able to play anymore for 2 weeks. When we got back to Curry, we were taking 2 weeks off of school. So we wouldn't be having lacrosse, we wouldn't be having practice, but she still wanted us to do our normal workouts at home and stuff like that. We were going to be missing the games for those 2 weeks. They were canceled. They were not going to be postponed. And that was kind of hard for me because in those games, in those 2 weeks, I was supposed to play Nichols, and Mackenzie Duran plays for Nichols. So I was pretty bummed that I wasn't able to play her, waiting 4 years to play someone from Curry. Yeah, that was tough. The next day we were hanging out or whatever. We still had practice because we were still in Hilton Head. And then after practice, we got the news that the CCC was shutting down and we weren't going to have a season at all. And immediately we all just started crying because it's like we had waited for this moment. Like Hilton Head's like the height of everything. It's so fun. Like you go and it's just like a great time in like the heat. Like instead of doing the 5 a.m. practices, you're like practicing outside and stuff. And it's just such like an amazing experience. And then to just find out there that the season was ending, it was just like a whirlwind of emotions for all of us.
Wow. I can't imagine. Charlie, you have anything on that?
No, I mean, so just back up, Abby. I think I know the answer to this, but so the games you were playing in Hilton Head, those were real games.
Yes.
So that's
yes.
So
and
that's
so
why you were able to get your 100th goal.
Well, we did it the game before we went to Hilton Head was when I 100th.
Okay.
And then we went to Hilton Head. We have one game there. And then we were going to have others, but they ended up getting canceled due to the season getting cut and the CCC shutting down and everything. But also we didn't know that it was going to be our last game. That was another thing that was kind of tough on all of us is you go and you expect the first game of your senior year is intense in its own sense. It's like, this is my last time putting on a uniform.
Right.
And then you don't get that sense for the seniors. We had a hard time with the idea that we didn't get to go onto the field our last time knowing it was going to be our last time stepping on. And not saying that we didn't give it our all or not that we didn't put our heart into it like every other game, but it's a different sense when you know it's going to be your last game And I think a lot of the sports teams didn't get that opportunity. So it's very tough for students this year, especially I know there's in the high school, seniors missing their senior prom, like everyone's missing out in this sense. It's not just the athletes, but it is tough being an athletic minded person, knowing that you kind of missed out on that sense.
Now, when you guys got back to campus, back to Curry, were you guys allowed to, those that were still living in dorms, go to dorms or go to the locker rooms and stuff?
So it was interesting. So we were allowed to go to our locker rooms and our dorms for that night, because when you go to spring training, they give you you have to like sign all these forms that you're staying on campus, even though we are leaving, but we come back before people come back for spring break. So they were allowed to go back to their dorms and everything, but they had 24 hours to get their stuff and get out. And then the other students who aren't athletes had to come back later on that next week, and they had like 2 days to move themselves out.
Wow.
Which is
Abby, sorry. The NCAA has talked about granting another year of eligibility.
they have.
Is that something that you've entertained?
I entertained it for a minute, but I don't think working full time as a nurse, I don't think I'd be able to work and then catch a lacrosse game that night. But it's something to think about. Maybe if I go for my master's in a year or two, I would do it. I'm not going to do it next year. I don't know if I'd do it at Curry, because I could do it anywhere. But right now, it doesn't seem like I will be taking in that. I do know people that are, though. I do know people at Curry that are doing that.
That's cool. All right, so let's segue into the big change. So the season ended.
Yeah.
And school basically ended. I know you're doing some remote learning.
Kind of, yeah. More or less.
And you're a nursing major, but you got pulled into the hospital that you had worked at in the past.
Yes.
How it went down?
Yes. So I was, I hadn't really been working that much. I was doing about two to three shifts a month, because I was also doing my preceptorship. So I wasn't really at Brigham and Women's Faulkner where I worked all that often. So then when this all went down and school got canceled, my boss reached out to me and said, we're in need of people. We need you to come in kind of and work full time now that everything's online. And seems though everything's online, I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I have time for it. I'll do that. I didn't know that getting myself kind of into that would mean like really socially distancing myself from everyone. And I think that's kind of hard for me, because yes, socially distancing is very important, and I highly, highly, highly expect everyone to be doing it. But I can't do it with like my family now. Now I'm in mass without really anyone, and I like FaceTime them and stuff like that. But it's hard when you go to work and you see some of the things and the people suffering from COVID-19 the way they are, and then coming home and not being with anyone. It feels very isolating. So I think that's something that I'm struggling with, in the sense of being at work. But then you have the patients that are pulling through and they're doing good, and your coworkers are there for you and everything else. So then it really makes it worth it, and it makes it better.
Charlie?
Yeah, no. Have you already taken? Have you taken the exam? Are you already an RN?
No, so I'm taking the exam in around June time. Is when I'll take the exam. Massachusetts just passed a enactment that any senior nursing student who is in their way to graduate can be working as a nurse. I forget the actual bill of it, but right now they're in need of nurses really badly. So they're letting us go on. And then what's happening is you're being precepted by another nurse. So there's like 3 or 4 nursing students who are going to be seniors who are being overwatched by like the charge nurse or something like that. So we're working towards getting to that sense because we're in need right now. It's
right. Now, do you see? I mean, I know that you're in the middle of this now, and probably not thinking about this, but do you think you're going to probably end up settling and staying there? You know, you'll pass the exam in June, or do you plan on coming back to New Hampshire? Or
I don't think I'll come back to New Hampshire, not for a little bit. I really like Massachusetts and the hospital systems. It's very new information. It's always changing. And I like that. I think I'd like to either get into the emergency department at Faulkner or change over and go into downtown and work at Brigham downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where my thoughts are at, but I'll apply everywhere. I'm not just going to stay at Faulkner just because I'm comfy there.
Right.
Abby, talk about a typical day for you. We see on the news, you know, the news cameras going to the hospitals and they see the chaos that's, you know, going on. What is a typical day for you like when you go in start to finish?
So I go in, I'll start at home. So I don't go in my scrubs. I go in my outside clothes. So I bring a pair of like leggings and a t-shirt. I have to go in, I get my temperature checked, and then I have to fill out a questionnaire, making sure that I'm cleared to work that day. So then I go to the bathroom, change into scrubs, and I lock up my clothes in the locker room. So then I go to the floor. I get my N95 mask, which is you guys have probably heard about it. It's on the news. So yeah. So I get one of those a day, which is great because a week ago, we were only allowed to get one indefinitely. So I had one N95 mask that I was using for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Which when you are breathing in through it, the outside's all dirty. So then you have to be careful putting it on, not to touch anything, then take it off and put it in the bag the same way so that none of the germs get inside. I'm just grateful that I get one every day now. So I go and get my N95 mask, and then I go to the floor, I get my patient assignment. I help them with their vital signs in the morning, get them dressed, help them eat. Every time I go into a room and come out, I have to dress and undress, meaning I have to get my N95 on, put a mask on top of that, put a head on to cover my hair. I then put a face shield on, and then I put my gown on, and then lastly, my gloves. I go into the room, and then if I say the patient wants a water or something, or needs their temperature checks, they need the temperature. So then I have to degown, go out, get it, and regown. So it's taking a lot longer to do the normal tasks at hand than was done before. So then, not to mention if you're in the room and you have to change someone up or like help a nurse with something, you're in those and it's so hot, like you're just sweating and there's nothing you can do because you can't itch your nose because that's the first thing that happens when you put on a mask. Your nose just has to itch and you're sweating and there's just nothing you can do about it until you get out of the room. And then when you get out of the room, you take that top mask off, but you keep your N95 on. And I don't know if you guys have ever worn one, but it's really tight around your nose and on your cheeks right here. And it leaves indents on your skin for hours after you take them off. And it's just cutting at your skin. It's so uncomfortable, but at least we have them. Like, we're thankful that we have them.
Right.
So
awesome. That's awesome. So you had mentioned as nurses, there's really strict policy as far as the social distancing after work.
Oh yeah. So what they're doing at Faulkner, which is amazing, is if you live with family at home, they're putting you up in a hotel. So thankfully I have an apartment off campus because of Curry. So I'm here alone. None of my roommates are here, which is fine. And so I don't have to go into a hotel, which is great. So then my coworker, she has a sister who is battling cancer. So she doesn't want to go home to her sister. So she's been living at a hotel for the past couple weeks.
Wow.
which is great that the hospital is putting her up in a hotel, but it's also very hard for her to then eat meals, to then cook, to do her laundry, to do all that stuff. It's just like an extra step. And I think it's great that the hospital policy is the way it is, that you have to be away from people, because in reality, we do the best we can with donning and doffing our gowns and keeping our masks on us tight and everything, but you never know if there's a break in your seal at any point. And I think it's smart that we have to stay socially distant, especially when we're right with the patients who are diagnosed positive for COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Anything else, Coach, before we let Abby go?
No, I mean, Abby, first of all, thank you for doing what you're doing. I mean, it's really great to have an alum from Kingswood, and then obviously going to be graduating from Curry, and now you're on the front lines. And so yeah, you probably hear this, or maybe you don't hear this, but you're definitely a hero, and we appreciate it. And I'm honored to be able to have the opportunity to speak with you and see what it's really like. Because as you know, Huggins Hospital is quite different than Boston. So thank you for all that you're doing.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, it's my turn, Abby. So thank you. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I said to you when we were texting, I said, your story is really cool. And I think people will want to hear it. And I know we're probably going to get some feedback on this particular episode, because you're given a perspective from inside the hospital that a lot of us are only seeing what's happening on the news. And you are a hero, and you should feel really good about that. And I'll make sure I tell your mom that you're a hero also.
Okay, yeah, you should definitely do that.
Hey, stay safe. Please stay safe. Be cautious like you are being, and hopefully we'll get to see you soon.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Abby.
All right, bye, guys.
All right.
Right on.
Well, that was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely awesome.
It's to get that perspective from inside the hospital, what she has to go through day by day. Again, we see it on the news, but hearing it firsthand from her, from, like you said, a Kingswood alum that we have some connections to, it's a good story, and I think that people will be interested in hearing Abby's story right now. Definitely,
yeah, it's awesome, and then I can't imagine, too. Just, I mean, she kind of hit on it, but it must be lonely. The only interaction she really has, obviously with her colleagues and the patients, but she leaves her shift and she's all alone, and it's gonna be tough, especially for someone that's starting out.
Well, and I think we probably take it for granted what we have. We have large families, both of us, and and sometimes, in some ways, it's business as usual for us at home, because the kids are here and so on, and we make dinners and we eat with our families and so on. But there's a large segment of the population that isn't fortunate like that. They're by themselves.
Right.
And then there's a large segment of people like Abby who are just dedicating themselves to helping other people and is intentionally being isolated to keep other people safe. So, it's a great job, and I'm very thankful for Abby and all the other nurses that are out there putting their lives on the line, doing what they're doing. So, all right. We got about 20 minutes left, Coach.
Okay.
And before we go on, this is our show, so let's make sure that
Oh, I always knew that, but it was funny. Anytime we get, that wasn't even planned with Abby, but she picked right up on it. Anytime we can have the opportunity to kind of go after you, Mike, I like to do that.
I know, that's all right. So let's go back to sports. I think we haven't talked about the Patriots for a couple of weeks, and we have talked about their former quarterback. Not that he.
All right,
Charlie, you there?
Yeah, I'm there. We lost you. I don't know if you could hear me while I talked through that a little bit.
I did not hear anything you just said.
All right, that's fine. So the last thing that I heard from you was we were talking about the Patriots, and we were going to talk about the former quarterback. We haven't. Now that we're going to talk about the Patriots without Tom Brady.
So what I want to know is, how are you feeling now, a month out from free agency? How are you feeling about your football team right now? And your football team is the New England Patriots, not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah,
I know. It'll never be the Buccaneers. I feel fine. I mean, I think I had said this last week. I'm okay. You have Jarrett Stidham you've got Brian Hoyer. I think the Patriots will probably pick up a quarterback in the draft. Coach Belichick came out this week and made it pretty clear that there's going to be a quarterback competition. And I don't really have a lot of concerns. I just think the way that the system is built in New England, yes, we had the greatest quarterback of all time, but I think someone can come in there and hand the ball off and throw some short passes and have a great defense. And I think the Patriots are going to win, 10, 11 games.
I'll go a step further. I'm kind of excited. I'm excited to see how Belichick is going to be able to put this thing together.
Yeah.
He did come out and he didn't say anything disparaging about Brady, but he did say that one of the reasons that Brady was successful is because we gave him things that he was good at to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, we designed our offense around his strength. When Matt Castle took over in 2008, we just redesigned our offense around his strengths, and we won 11 games.
And he won, yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo took the reins for a game and a half. We designed our offense around his strengths.
Right.
And so I think that and he says we're going to do the same thing for Jarrett Stidham or whoever else the quarterback is.
Yeah.
We're going to, figure out, and I think their offense has some flexibility that they can do things like that. I'm torn on whether they should draft a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
There's some talk about Tua. I'm not going to even try to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
But
right.
If they can pick up somebody like that, that would be pretty exciting. But I would also say that Jarrett Stidham having a year of the offense under his belt might be a better choice.
Right. They may just pick up a quarterback though, just to have another quarterback in camp. And
oh yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they're going to get something at least third, fourth round or something like that. I just don't want them to necessarily move up unless they can get one of the the Burrows kid, a real kid, the Love kid. I don't want to see them mortgage their next couple of years, which they never would anyway.
Right.
I don't see them doing that. But I do find it to be interesting, where they're at, and I'm excited. So, do they have draft? What do they have for draft needs?
My tight end.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is that the number one need?
I think the number one need would be tight end. Yes. Yeah. I think even if you look at the defense, I think the defense is pretty solid.
I agree. I think even losing Van Noy and Collins, I think that they're going to have some success because they still have a shutdown corner.
Mm-hmm.
They still have experience on the back end. They still have Hightower as a linebacker who, Dante Hightower still plays a pretty good linebacker.
Right.
They still have a defensive line that is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And that Belichick's going to pick up some guys that's going to improve this too.
Yeah, definitely.
I would like to see a few more bodies on the offensive line. I don't even mind them drafting that in the first round to pick up another tackle or a guard.
Right.
I think Isaiah Wynn is good. I hope he gets better.
Yeah, I hope so.
But
you make a good point because that was a concern because if you look at the line last year, and I don't mean look at the line as far as how they played, but just the depth. There wasn't a lot. If you have a couple of guys go down, you were out of linemen last year.
Yeah.
So they do need to have a few more on the depth chart.
Yeah, and not guys that they're picking up off the junk pile. They need to draft and develop some of these kids. And I'm with you and Coach McCullough. It starts with the offensive line, and the Patriots have never done well when their offensive line has been porous.
Right.
So, and then they also lost Dante Scarnecchia. He retired.
Yes. Yeah. I remember what happened when he left. He had retired before, and they had a tough year the next year. So that's concerning.
But the following year, they did win the Super Bowl with Googs or Guglielmo or something like that.
Guglielmo, yeah.
I think he's Coach McCullough's buddy there. But
yeah.
So they did pull it together, but they also brought in some talent for the offensive line too.
Right.
And what made Scarnecchia great is you could take the guys that did not have that much talent and make them better.
Right.
they don't have that now. They need to make sure that they have some stout guys up front
Mhm.
for the running game, for the pass protection, to protect the young quarterback, because he's not going to make the same decisions that Brady was making.
Right.
All right, so that's it for the talk. We'll probably get back to the draft is coming up in 9 days, so
I know.
we might be able to have a little football talk in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. What do you think? Just kind of projecting ahead. I know that we talked a little bit at the beginning of the show about having sports without fans, and I mean, we've seen that. We saw that with baseball before, but I wonder what would football be like without fans? Be interesting because think about it. Baseball is a little different than football. With football, you have the home crowd, and that is a distinct advantage.
True.
I mean, the loudness, and so I don't know. It'd be interesting.
I think that one facet that will be interesting is that the players aren't going to be able to play for the fans, and they're going to be playing for each other. And so when they score a touchdown, they're not going to be showboating as much. They're going to be celebrating with their teammates.
Teammates, yeah.
Which would be a nice change rather than going off and individually doing their own dance and all those kinds of things. I think sports without fans is better than no sports at all. And that's how
I fully agree. And I think ESPN and all those, they'll do a great job, because all the things we're going to be able to hear from the sideline from a coach, I want to hear the other coaches. So they're going to have, how cool would that be to be able to, the XFL started doing that a little bit. Yeah. And I thought that was cool.
How about audibles at the line? Hearing from but not only from the quarterback, because we all hear the quarterback, but we never hear the signals coming from the center, and he's calling out protections and those kinds of things I think are going to be really interesting. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Last week we talked about top sports stories of the decades from 2010 to 2019, I guess it would be.
Right.
And we didn't get to the National World one. And so we have a few minutes left, and going to run down this list and just your thoughts on some of these events. Some of them we're probably not going to be that familiar with. And again, there's hundreds of these lists on the internet right now. Everybody's sitting at the computer just brainstorming different.
I know. I'm looking at the list now. I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Well, we know the first one, which is considered 10th, the Floyd Mayweather Conor McGregor fight.
Yeah.
So Conor McGregor came out of UFC and took on the greatest boxer, that many call who ever lived, in Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. And there was a lot of buildup on that one. They've been talking about doing that for a couple of years, and there was a lot of buildup. And did you see the fight?
No, I only saw replays. Yeah.
Okay, so you're pretty useless.
You paid for it? You paid for it?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. No, I don't.
I think I saw it at Brian Davidson's. I'm not positive though.
Oh, so someone else paid for it. And you just
exactly.
Went.
That's how I roll. But I'm not a fan of either one of them. I mean, you could make an argument that both of them are pretty bad human beings.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see the two styles clash.
Mm-hmm.
I like UFC. I like watching UFC.
Yeah.
Sometimes. It gets brutal though, too.
It's pretty violent. Yeah.
It is pretty violent. All right, we'll move on from that one. Right. Simone Biles in the 2016 Olympic dominance.
Yeah. Quite an athlete.
Awesome. I mean, the best ever. When we think of gymnastics, we're thinking of Mary Lou Retton.
Yeah, I was going to say Mary Lou.
Nadia Comaneci, if I say that right.
Yeah. And
I don't know if there's many other names that I can pull together.
No.
But Simone Biles did better than all of them.
Yeah.
She, right across the board, she did better than all of them. Don't you feel, though, she's not being recognized necessarily the way that she should?
Yeah, you're right. Because, I mean, she's been in a few commercials, but yeah, you're right. Like, think about Mary Lou Retton. I mean, we're saying this, 25, 30 years, 40 years later, whatever. And, Mary Lou Retton, that's just kind of a household name. And Simone Biles is not.
No, not yet. And now she's supposed to be going into the next, well, it would have been the summer.
What would have been Japan or in Japan.
So next summer. That would be,
21. Yeah.
Hopefully she's still doing it. I know the shelf life on a gymnast is not very long.
Right.
But hopefully she's able to do it. Germany defeats Brazil 7-1. This would be in the World Cup finals, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. And that was obviously, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about soccer, but I know that Brazil was always the dominant team all the time.
May I remind you that you have a soccer player in your family now? So
I'm learning. So I'm in the infancy of learning about soccer. So
Brazil had won the most World Cups.
Yeah.
The World Cup happens every 4 years, like the Olympics.
Yep.
Where all countries play this massive tournament that the United States is seldom in. But they have been. They weren't in last year, which was more of an anomaly. Like, they had been in for the past few years. Germany, Brazil, England, those are Argentina. Those are your big powerhouses.
Right.
That I'm forgetting some of them.
Sure.
But they played in the finals. Germany beat them 7-1. Germany was very good.
Yeah, and the one thing I do know about soccer, 7-1 that's a whooping.
That's like when the Bears beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl in 86.
46-10. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a similar score.
Yeah.
And nobody says that the game was closer than the score. So,
right.
Villanova buzzer beater to win the 2016 NCAA title game. Villanova seems to win in those buzzer beaters, don't they?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
I did not follow that year. I did not follow that one that close because they busted my bracket very early on.
Yeah.
And so I kind of stepped away from it. But I do remember Raleigh Massimino when Villanova won 20 years ago.
Right.
And,
it takes you back to, and I know it's not Villanova, but it's Duke with Christian Laettner. And yeah, so it's exciting. But yeah, definitely Villanova back. I can't believe that was 4 years ago.
I know.
Crazy.
I know. Tiger Woods wins the Masters last year.
Yeah.
And this was Masters week, so I guess it's appropriate that we're talking about it. That he was supposed to have his Champions Dinner. They've been replaying the Masters on television on Golf Channel, and ESPN has been doing it. Tiger went away for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger was like from the mid '90s until 2008, give or take. He was as Michael Jordan was.
Right. Yeah.
And he had some struggles. Personal struggles, and he kind of left the picture. He did win a couple tournaments here and there, but he wasn't winning majors, and that was his first major, I believe, since 2008.
Plus, he was injured,
and a lot of back injuries. A lot of knee injuries.
Yeah.
So that was a big one. Leicester City. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah.
Wins Premier League title. I know absolutely nothing about that one.
I know nothing. I know it's soccer. But
one thing I want to talk about soccer though is I like something that they do over there. They have the Premier League, and then they have relegation, where they take their top teams right in the league. If you're in the bottom one or two teams, and if you've been there, I want to say if it's 2 years in a row, then you're relegated to the farm system, and then they pick up one of those farm system teams to take your place. So, like the tanking, and we've talked about it before on the show, tanking that some teams do to get a higher draft pick.
Right.
You can't do that in soccer leagues over there because you get relegated to the minor league.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. And think about what life would be like, watching those bottom teams play when they have the threat of being kicked out of the league and being relegated to the farm system.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's cool. Yeah, I get it. Wow.
So, the kick six. I don't even know what that is. Do you have any idea what that is?
No.
We have to Google that one. I'm sorry.
We probably should Google these things before we talk about them.
Well, I looked at the first couple. I was like, but the kick six, I don't know anything. How about the Cubs win the 2016 World Series? Are you familiar with that one?
I am familiar with that one. Yeah.
That's
Oh, we should just go back for 1 second. We should know what the kick six is. All right, it was the final play of the Iron Bowl in 2013, Alabama-Auburn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for looking that up.
Yeah, no worries. So
I just have to. So that was.
And it's funny because that program was. Go ahead.
Nick Saban. Remember Nick Saban? They were kicking the field goal.
Yeah.
And he was warning his team about that they were going to return it, and he wanted to make sure that they were in coverage at the time, and they weren't in coverage.
Yeah.
They didn't go into coverage, and the guy ran up the sidelines, and that was the end of the game.
That was it. Yeah, he knew that the ball could go short, and he caught it and scored. Yeah.
He had a nutty. He threw a nutty that one. Saban play. Cubs win the 2016 World Series.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And Malcolm Butler. Now, Malcolm Butler's interception is number 2 on the list, and that was number 1 on the list for New England.
Yeah, well.
We talked about it last week. We showed the video, which happened to be a little bit longer than I thought. It was the backstory of the whole Malcolm Butler interception, which is it's a great backstory about, that they were practicing for it in practice.
Yeah.
Why they thought that was coming. It might be another story for another time.
Yeah. Hey, can you imagine, like, what were you saying? Okay, this is what's going to happen. We have one of the best running backs in the game, and and Pete Carroll is going to throw the ball at the 1-yard line. Like, really? Come on.
Good coaching. It was good coaching. And then number 1, I have trouble seeing why this would be number 1 on the list compared to the Malcolm Butler one, but LeBron James's block. The Cavaliers, when they were down, they came back. The block happened in Game 7, I believe.
Yeah.
They were down 3-1, and they came back.
Yeah.
I have respect for LeBron James. I'm not a big fan, though, of LeBron James.
Right, right.
And he's not somebody that I necessarily root for.
No.
Just some of the stuff that he says. But anyway.
It's an interesting pick on this list that's number 1. So, but.
Again, this is one guy's interpretation. We could probably do this every show because there's, like I said, there's that many of them.
I know.
And I just thought it would be kind of cool to look at this. I'm not a big fan of number 5, putting that soccer one on there. I think the Cubs winning the World Series, I believe, probably should be number 1.
Yeah, I agree, and I think and Simone Biles should be higher than 9.
Yeah.
So,
yep. I agree. No, but anyway, maybe we'll do our own list at some point.
We should, yeah.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Coach, my body temperature is about 85 degrees right now, so I'm wrap this show up.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll have to think twice about going outside.
I'm going to look at the thermometer next time. Next week, we're going to try and do a little bit of dancing. And so part of that show is going to be you doing a little dance move.
I'll be working on that.
I'm sure you will. Otherwise than that, we'll see where we go. Please stay safe, and let's thank our sponsors one more time. We'll start with Morrissey's Porch and Pub.
Okay, and Skelly's Market.
And Downtown Grill and Cafe. Thank you guys for helping us out.
Yeah, and thanks to Timothy Goodwin for producing this from his home.
And hopefully our Twitter handle is at the bottom. It usually is when we do these. So please reach out to us if you have anything you'd like to say, any suggestions on the show or any comments on the show. Especially Abby Bubell. I want to thank Abby for joining us once again, and whatever you're doing out there, and all the other medical professionals that are out there trying to keep safe.
Definitely. All right. Well, go Knights, Mike.
Go Knights. Talk to you later, Charlie.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.